This movie is a true story about a man named Jaime Escalante. At that time, he came to Garfield High School, a school in a poor area of Los Angeles known for low academic achievement and discipline problems. Jaime was greeted by a teacher named Raquel, the head of the math department. Jaime was a computer science graduate and was supposed to teach computers there. But since the school was poor and there was no budget to buy computers, Jaime was assigned to teach math. Jaime walked into his classroom and was immediately greeted with disrespect from the students. They talked over him, ignored him, and looked down on him like a geek. There were no manners at all. Plus, there were students in this class who were not fluent in English. Anyway, the atmosphere in this class was really chaotic. It had only been 5 minutes inside. Suddenly the bell had rung. All students immediately left the class. It turned out to be a fake bell that was installed by naughty students to make the school atmosphere more chaotic. Until the principal named Molina told them all to go back into the classroom. On his way home, Jaime finds his windshield broken and his car radio stolen. In the yard, Jaime had a discussion with his neighbor named Joe. There, Joe asked why he quit his former company. Jaime said he just wanted to teach school. Jaime himself has a wife named Fabiola, and they have 2 children. One day at school, Jaime suddenly taught with a very strange makeup. He wore a kitchen costume complete with apron, chef's hat, and kitchen knife, as well as groceries. In front of the class, he cut an apple. Her actions left the students speechless but intrigued and eventually paying attention. Jaime is so strange and eccentric, but that's why they listen. Jaime demonstrated the concept of fractions from apple pieces. Very creative and unconventional. While he was teaching, suddenly 2 students named Chuco and Guzman came into the class. They both had nothing with them. He even blatantly pointed his middle finger at Jaime, but Jaime responded by teaching him the trick of multiplication with his fingers. After the class was over, Chuco and Guzman threatened Jaime that they asked Jaime not to mind their business, and if they got bad grades, they wouldn't care. On his way home, Jaime saw a fight between Chuco's gang and another student. When Guzman went to help, Jaime caught him before the fight got any bigger. While in class, Jaime started teaching simple math, namely algebra, teaching the addition of minus and plus numbers. Although Chuco and Guzman tried to mess with Jaime while he was teaching, Jaime was not affected by them. In fact, he responded elegantly. Jaime knew they had potential. He even forced Guzman to answer a simple question from him. Guzman felt pressured, but Jaime was confident that with a little encouragement, Guzman could show his ability. Jaime gave a relatively easy question, and Guzman managed to answer it correctly. Afterward, Jaime taught them the multiplication tables. Even Chuco and Guzman, who didn't want to join the lesson, got carried away and joined in with Jaime's lessons. After class, Jaime attended a teacher's meeting. Molina said Garfield High School was facing the threat of losing accreditation, and they would be the only school to suffer a drop in academic scores. Plus, they were short on teaching staff. One of the teachers even said she wouldn't be returning after Christmas because she chose another job. Aside from the shortage of teaching staff, they also have their own challenge, which is that their students have the academic knowledge of junior high school students. In the midst of this despair, Jaime said he could teach better, and the students would have the expected increase in grades. All Jaime needed was enthusiasm from the students. In class, Jaime gave quizzes for them to do. Jaime wanted to know what her students were capable of. When he was about to take the quiz, Guzman was called by Chuco to skip class. Guzman actually wanted to study, but because of solidarity among friends, he dropped out. At the same time, a student was told to enter Jaime's class. He immediately got a seat because Guzman decided to leave. After class, Guzman went to Jaime and regretted leaving the class. He asked Jaime for help. He couldn't carry his textbooks around, so he asked Jaime for 3 books. 1 for class, 1 for home, and 1 for her locker. Elsewhere, Frank, Claudia, Lupe, and Tito discuss how their high school will lose its accreditation if the students don't get good grades this year. They also plan to mess up by not taking the test given by Jaime. When in class, the 3 of them did not open the questions given by Jaime. Seeing this, Jaime went to Lupe, who seemed to be challenging him. Lupe thought he was cool because he wanted to be the center of attention. Jaime also gave him a seat in front so that he got the attention he wanted. Seeing that, Frank and Tito chose to take the quiz instead. Lupe was very upset to see her 2 friends. Afterward, she was punished to attend extra hours after school. At home, Guzman lived with his grandmother. He was actually a good boy and had a desire to learn. It's just that he chose the wrong friends like Chuco, who had a bad influence on him. He is often invited to make a mess outside. Meanwhile, Lupe lives with her parents. Her father works 2 shifts and her mother works late into the night, so she is both a big sister and a mother figure for her younger siblings. The next morning, Guzman had come to class. In fact, he came in drunk. She was sentenced to extra hours after school. At that time, Guzman did not bring a pencil, but Ana, the smartest student in the class, agreed to lend him one because it was his last day of school. That night, Jaime and Fabiola eat at a restaurant. It turns out that Ana's parents own it and Ana is a waitress there to help with the family business. Jaime introduced himself as Anna's teacher at school. He asks Anna's father to let Anna go to school because Anna could be the first person in her family to graduate and go to college. Moreover, Anna is the smartest student in the class, but her father doesn't want to because there's no point in going to school if you end up working at this restaurant. Jaime said that Anna wanted to study medicine and that was her choice. If she worked here, she would be wasting her intelligence. Unfortunately, her father felt that Jaime's suggestion was insulting to him. Another day at school, during class time, Jaime was observed by Raquel and Principal Molina. At that time, Jaime gave an algebra problem with an example that was close to them. By using relevant examples, Jaime made the algebra material more interesting and easily understood by his students. They tried to answer the problems enthusiastically, but none of the answers were correct. But suddenly, from outside, Anna came with the correct answer. Jaime was happy to see Anna back at school. Molina was also happy to see the way Jaime taught. One day, Jaime took his students on a study tour to a computer company where he used to work. Unexpectedly, they have an interest in calculus, even though it was a science learned in college. So during a meeting, Jaime said he wanted to teach calculus next semester. Hearing that, Molina and the other teachers laughed because it was a big leap. Jaime wanted them to attend summer school before the new semester to prepare them for calculus, but it was met with opposition from Raquel, who was the chair of the math department. Raquel felt that Jaime's plan to teach calculus to her students was too ambitious and unrealistic. Raquel was worried that Jaime was focusing too much on one or two gifted students while the majority of the other students were still struggling with the basic material. But Jaime assured her that he could. In short, the summer class went ahead. In the midst of the heat, they instead gathered in one hot room without air conditioning because their school was poor. Plus, the material was a complicated branch of science. However, Jaime encouraged them. Soon the new semester began. Jaime and the other teachers were greeted by naughty kids. Fortunately, they were not harmed. However, the perpetrators got away. While in class, Jaime gave the parents a learning contract to sign. The contract stated that they would study longer at school and also come on Saturdays. It was also they could study calculus, and if it worked, then they could get credits to go to college. Unexpectedly, although he was initially rejected, everyone returned the contract with their parents' signatures except Frank. He planned to work at the factory on Saturdays. After 2 years there, Frank planned to have a bigger salary than Jaime. Hearing that, Jaime gave him a lesson by riding in the car together. There, Jaime said left or right, and Frank said right. Jaime explained that in life we are often faced with difficult choices, and we have to choose between one option and another. Jaime's point is that Frank is only looking for the short way, while education is a long-term solution. So Frank joined the Saturday class. They then studied on holidays when other students were not at school. Another day, Frank was told to do a problem in front of the class. However, he didn't know the answer. He was upset and reminded Jaime that he was the dumbest student in this class, and Jaime knew it. Elsewhere, Guzman accompanied his grandmother to the hospital, to the point that because of this he was late for class. Because of his lateness, Jaime kicked Guzman out of the class. Guzman wanted to explain the reason for his lateness. However, Jaime did not want to listen because this incident happened too often. Because of this, Guzman was very upset. On Christmas Eve, Fabiola complained that her husband was always working even on his days off. At the same time, someone rang the doorbell. It was Guzman who had brought his grandmother with him. Her grandmother explained why Guzman had come to school. Guzman just wanted calculus to lead her to a good career. Another day, Jaime taught the advanced material and told them to find the answers or problems he gave. They could already count. Strangely, although all their answers were the same, Jaime thought they were wrong. Because of this, Jaime was annoyed with all of them. How could they get the answer wrong on a problem that they had already done? That night, Jaime volunteered to teach the parents English. But in the middle of teaching, Jaime felt a pain in his chest. Jaime immediately went outside and then collapsed on the stairs. Because of this, Molina told her students that Jaime had a mild heart attack and was being treated. For this reason, Molina assigned a substitute teacher. However, this substitute teacher was not a calculus teacher, but a music teacher. So they decided to study on their own. At the hospital, Jaime took the time to write the questions and had a nurse deliver them to the school so that his students could learn the advanced material. That afternoon, Jaime surprised them all with his presence. He was supposed to take a break, but he didn't. Instead, he checked the material. Instead, he checked their understanding of the material one by one. In short, after months of studying calculus, the advanced placement exam specialized in math, calculus material began. They took the exam, supervised by officials from the education office. After the exam, they refreshed by swimming together at the beach. Day after day passed. While justifying his car, Frank saw the postman delivering a letter for him. The letter was an announcement of the exam results. Frank passed the calculus test yesterday. It turns out that not only Frank, but his other friends also passed. Molina announced that out of all the students in California who took this advanced calculus test, only less than 2% passed, and Garfield High School had more students who passed than any other high school. It was certainly a high achievement for the school. The 18 students from Jaime's class all passed with flying colors. To thank him, these students presented a plaque to Jaime as a sign of their respect. Finally, Jaime's teaching methods were recognized even by Raquel. But the other day, Lupe got some shocking news over the phone. All of Jaime's students were notified that they were suspected of cheating because of an irregularity that occurred. They were cheating by giving the wrong answer to the same question. The Board of Education doubted Garfield High School's grades and would investigate the matter. They also sent officers named Ramirez and Pearson to check this case. They wanted to find out whether there was a question leak or not. They also tried to ask all the students directly to confess how they could answer the wrong questions with the same answers. Anna said nothing happened, and they did not cheat. They then left the class because the students were considered unable to work together. Meanwhile, Jaime was asked by Raquel to resign from school because of this mess. Jaime couldn't believe that Raquel indirectly believed that the students in Jaime's class were really cheating. According to Raquel, Jaime had already put tremendous pressure on them. So maybe they don't want to disappoint the teacher and do anything to please Jaime, including cheating. Jaime immediately got out and intended to go to Ramirez and Pearson's office. However, Jaime did not find his car in the parking lot. He walked back home. After arriving, he was really sad. Maybe it was his fault for teaching them calculus. While he was talking to his wife, Guzman shouted from outside. It turned out that he was the one who took Jaime's car to get it fixed, so Jaime could go downtown. In short order, Jaime went to the education office. He meets with Ramirez and Pearson. He wanted to ask for an explanation why they both thought his students were cheating. But Jaime was not given an explanation because they refused to discuss this controversy. Jaime wasn't even allowed to see his students' answer sheets. Pearson explained that of the multiple choice questions, none of Jaime's students got more than 4 questions wrong, while students from other schools did not. Since there was no other solution to prove that they didn't cheat, Jaime was forced to tell them to retake the test. But they had to review the lessons in a day because the next test was scheduled for tomorrow. Jaime said it could be that the questions would be much more difficult. But Jaime was confident in their abilities. Jaime even told them not to bring anything and to wear clothes that don't have many pockets. At night when he went home, Jaime even invited some of his students to eat at home while teaching. The next day, the retest began, this time supervised by Ramirez and Pearson themselves. The questions were harder, but they already knew the solutions, so they were able to answer the questions with focus and precision. Anna didn't finish the exam because she had to attend a scholarship interview at the University of California. The others made use of the remaining time to finish. Jaime, who was waiting in the teacher's office, was anxiously awaiting the results of their tests. Molina told Jaime that they wanted to retake the test to avoid any misunderstandings. Later that day, Molina called Ramirez to ask about the test results. A score of 3 was a pass, and a score of 5 was perfect. Unexpectedly, 18 of Jaime's students passed with excellent scores. Some of them even got a perfect score of 5. Jaime walked away with his head held high. In 1982, 18 students passed the calculus exam. In 1983, the number rose to 31. In 1984, it rose to 63. In 1985, it rose to 77. And every year there was a significant increase in students passing. Jaime fought the system that underestimated his students and proved that miracles can happen when one does not give up and chooses to believe. This movie inspires us that with determination and belief, there is no limit to what can be achieved. It is considered one of the most inspiring educational films of all time and has become an important symbol in the fight against low expectations of students from minority backgrounds. The movie Stand and Deliver teaches that everyone has great potential, no matter how difficult their background is. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Amri Film channel so you don't miss the next movie recaps.